Erica and Sharon are sisters who began their grief journey in 2006 when Erica's 10-year-old son Austin drowned. Together, they participated in a grief education program, were so moved by this experience, they studied and became specialists so they could help the brokenhearted find recovery. In 2015, tragedy struck their family once again when Erica's oldest son Donovan was killed in a motorcycle accident. Erica and Sharon are committed to sharing their experiences of love, loss, and healing through this podcast. Now your grief specialists, Sharon and Erica.
Hello friends, welcome back to Healing Starts with the Heart. We're so glad that you're listening to our podcast today. My name is Sharon Brubaker and I'm a grief specialist. If you're listening to this show today, there's a huge probability that your heart may be broken from grief or loss or any of the 40 or more known losses we know can cause a grieving experience. I want to introduce you to my sister, Erica.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This show is absolutely going to be amazing, and I'm so glad that we are able to have some helpful information for those of you that are struggling with a broken heart. Unfortunately, when we had our losses, we had zero direction. So if we could be a guide for you, that is just really what this is about today.
That's kind of cool, Erica. I think that you saying that is so true. No one told us how to do this or guided us through this or even said, first go here, first go there. We kind of had a little bit of that, but the recovery part is where we really want to zone in and help our friends with, right?
Oh yeah, because, even if you do go to let's say traditional therapy or support groups or things like that, you're sharing your story, but you're not really getting the recovery, the healing, taking the steps to really move you on to that next level.
Yeah. Hey friends, I want to introduce you to my very special guest today. This is Gianna Yarbrough.
Hello.
Hi, Gianna. Gianna's here to share a very special story. We're doing a special today called Mother's Day. And let me just do some backstory real quick. My very best friend of 15 years, Sharon Yarbrough, passed away in June of 2017. And she was your mom.
Yes.
And I met Sharon when I was actually selling real estate, and I met Gianna that very same day.
Yeah, I remember that.
You were like 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we hit it off instantly. I said to her, I have really short curly hair. She says, I have really short curly hair, because we were meeting each other in the middle of the street, and instantly we became friends. And from that led a 15-year friendship. But what we have Gianna here for today, Erica, is to share about really that first Mother's Day without her, after her mother had left the earth and was no longer here and had passed away, and what that year was kind of like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first holidays, anything, birthdays, anniversaries, they're so hard because you're in so much pain and you don't really know where to go with it. And it's like sometimes you want to resist those holidays as they come up, but it's, you can't just pause time and then wake up and, fast forward into another week. So, I'm looking forward to hearing your experience and sharing how you got through that first year, because for everyone it's different.
So Gianna, share us a little bit about your relationship with your mom and just that, how amazing she was.
Where do I start with my lady? Well, my mom was a single mom. She raised all of her kids, three of us, and I grew up very close with my mom. She called me her Velcro child. Like I was always attached to the hip, just with her. And my siblings, as they got older, they went off to college, and so it was just me and her in that home. Yeah. So I was kind of like an only child, so we became very close and would take trips together. But she really was my person of just, we would have such great conversations and talks about life and God, and just like our relationship just, I don't know, we were really close.
Yeah, you were. And the other thing that I loved about Sharon, I even shared this with so many people, she parented a little bit different than I did in the sense that She was cuddly, huggy. Come on, get in the bed with me. And Gianna, I'd call over there and she'd be like, yeah, me and Gianna are just laying here watching a movie. Where I was like, always, come on, things to do, stuff to do. She loved that cuddly hug time.
Yes, and I remember certain times when I was having a bad day or I just felt like I needed a hug. Like I would just tell her, Mom, I just need a hug. And so she would just give me these long hugs, and it's just like what I needed, you know?
She was just such a special person. And also about Sharon, I think, is that she loved deeply.
Yes.
So if she met you and she found out anything about you that was interesting, she would promote that one thing about you. She would tell everybody about you. And she just loved so deeply, not just her children and her friends, but anyone she came in contact with.
Yeah, definitely.
She was an amazing woman.
She was so cool. I just remember she had this presence about her that whenever you were with her, I mean, she just was like, I loved her because she just was a cool person, like the epitome of cool. And whenever you talked to her, she really put you at ease. And you could tell, like you said, Sharon, she was really listening to what you were saying and invested. And she really cared about people. That always came across when you were around her. And I know when she passed, it was so hard for me. My heart broke for all of you. My heart broke for Sharon. And I just, I knew that it was going to be a difficult experience because it's like, that was just an awesome spirit no longer in our world, So I remember when I found out she passed, and it hurt me too.
I just really love that you came here to share this, because this show is about everybody who's out there who can't even imagine one more day without their mom.
Yeah.
One more day, how am I going to get up? How am I going to do this? But then we come to Mother's Day, which is the holiday that says, I have a mom, but she's no longer there. And it's so tough, and it's so hard. We were sitting here trying to rack our brain, even remembering what we did on that first year without her. And it's even hard to get to that point of that memory. We got together for dinner to just support each other. And I think that it's so important, Erica. You and I talk about this all the time, but having a plan. Having the plan of what you're going to do.
Right. You definitely don't want to get blindsided by the day. And even though we try to fool ourselves and think, oh, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. It's coming. It's like a heavy weight is like coming, almost like, you could feel like the hand reaching out for you and it's about to grab you. That's what those anniversaries and birthdays and special days are like, when you can feel them approaching and you're trying to be like, okay, I'm not going to think about it right now. I'll deal with it when it comes. But your body automatically starts reacting to it. And even if you just think you're going to resist it and be like, okay, I'm not going to deal with this, your body is going to start responding, and you're going to notice you're going to be more emotional, or, more angry. Things will start, all of your senses will be heightened. And so it's so important to acknowledge it for what it is. Okay, Mother's Day is coming. What am I going to do or not do? Because sometimes that helps me if I start with what I don't want. I don't want to do, flowers. I don't want to do cards. I don't want to do restaurants. Then you can help formulate, okay, what am I willing to live with on this day to get me through it as best as I can?
Absolutely. What do you think, Gianna? What do you tell other friends that are going through that? Do you give them some advice, or how are you there for them? How do you show up for people now?
I think just being there for them. Because it's sometimes I feel like I don't have the right words to say, and no one can really say the right thing. So just your presence and just that love. Like I love those who are close to me just being around me, And sometimes I dreaded going to like big events because so many people felt like they had to say something, but it wasn't really helpful, So I just I think for me, just being there for those people who are going through something, a loss or something like
that. The other thing that happens is that once you become a member of this club, your eyes are open to this pain, this deep, gut-wrenching pain, this debilitating pain that you never really kind of paid attention to before. Like you would hear people say, well, my mom died or my dad died, and you'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. But once you become a member, it's so different, isn't it?
That's so true. Like, I feel like, I always had, compassion, and I felt bad if someone shared that they lost someone or lost a their mom or dad. But like now going through that, like I almost feel it even more, where it's like I take on that, like, wow, like I know what that feels like, you know. It's like I don't know what they experience, but I have my own experience as well, you know.
Absolutely. And it changes the world, I think. It changes the way your own personal world moves on its axis, right, Erica? It's when you see that.
You definitely understand that pain on such a deep level that there's an immediate connection. So it's like, you know, broken hearts just kind of connect automatically. So, you know, even before we had our experience, we were the same. Like, oh, you give the traditional, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. But when you've experienced it, it's like you're holding your chest and you're really empathizing with the person you're talking to.
Absolutely. It is definitely a different experience. One of the things that happens with us is that Gianna and I go to the same church. And so for Mother's Day, it's always this traditional, give all the mothers flowers, have all the mothers stand up. So some of those things that are traditional that we share become hard to approach and experience when the person is no longer there. And so we tend to have a feeling of wanting to resist it. Would you say that resisting it and not being involved in it, or going through with it, was the best thing for you? What would you say?
I feel like I was both of resisting, because there's certain things where I don't really remember what I did for that first Mother's Day. I believe I was there at church, so being a part of it, but feeling like, man, my mom's not here, you know? And then like thinking of other people who've lost someone in their life, or their mom or dad, and it's like they were on my mind as well. But then other instances where I couldn't go, like the children's service, or like I couldn't be a part of it. Like I had to remove myself, you know, from it. So I kind of was both, where
I think you're right. And I think that each person has to make that decision for themselves, what they can do and what they can't do. Erica, the children's service that she's discussing is that Sharon was the choir director for the children at our church. And so she led the choir. So the very first year they had the children's choir, Gianna and I were talking, okay, are you going? I'm not going. Are you going? Like we were going back and forth on who was going to do what. And so she decided not to go. She's like, I don't think I could do it. And I said, well, I have to go because I feel like your mom will want me to be there. It's so important. I need to go. I barely made it through. It was the worst experience of my life. And so later when I saw her, I was like, I'm so glad you didn't go. It was awful. It was really emotionally hard. I made the decision for me that it was the right thing, but ultimately it was really, really tough.
And then, so I went to breakfast with a friend, and I'm so grateful for her of taking me out, and we went to Mimi's Cafe, and I guess that's where she met my mom the first time. So it was just so cool. And then later we went to church, and everyone at church was like, I was thinking about you. Like, it must have been so hard for you, listening to the children sing, you were on my heart, you were in my prayers. And in my mind, I'm just like, I wasn't here. You know?
I'm so glad I wasn't here.
You know, I'm so glad I wasn't there. So, you know.
I think go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I think that is also something important to say, that people don't have to feel obligated. If you know that your heart is sensitive to something, really take care of yourself and listen to that, and don't force yourself into situations. Because I think when you force it, it ends up being so much worse. You know, if your heart's really not in it, and you know it's going to be really challenging, it's okay to opt out of things. You don't have to do every single thing. So I think it's good that you did that.
It's part of self-care that we talk about, Erica, how we talk about you have to take care of yourself at this time. And it's so important to say the things that you don't want to do, that you absolutely know you can't do. And that was what you did that day. I didn't force you. Like, you and I just kind of had the conversation, and that helped too, didn't it?
Kind of like leaving the decision up to me, and like sharing with me what you felt that you felt like my mom would want you to do,
Yeah.
you know, but I appreciate those conversations of just having those conversations
Yeah.
and not feeling forced, like you should do this, you know, but it was more so left up to me of where I felt was best at the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's important for other people as well. Like, what do you feel is best for you?
Yeah. And you have to do those things. And that's what's so important to get through and get across, especially for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
We know there's going to be so many people out there that absolutely don't even want to approach the day. And so instead of even approaching the day or experiencing the day, they're going to try to avoid the day and just kind of go away from it. What I love about what you did is that you didn't avoid it. You made a plan. You went to breakfast that morning, but then you still came to the church service and was able to join in with some of your friends at church.